Hello, Daily Interlake viewers and listeners. There were some audio issues in our Zoom interview, so we've provided captions when it's difficult to hear. This may be one you prefer to watch on YouTube. Thank you for your understanding.
And so first and foremost, just tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself. Where do you fit into in the Flathead Valley? What does this community mean to you?
Well, I love this. I love Montana, and I love living here. It's such a special place, and to me, it's special because of all of our public land and the wildlife that we have here. And so I chose to live in the North Fork of the Flathead River Valley, um, between Glacier National Park and the Flathead National Forest, surrounded by public land. You know, up there we have the long gravel road to get up to our community. We have a very tight-knit community. We have the whole political spectrum. I love that. We have the entire political spectrum and we all get along. You know, we have to look out for each other, especially in the wintertime. So we have, you know, we enjoy each other's company. We have community, and it's great. I love living here. That's why I live in Montana. I've been coming to Montana since 1979 and hiking on all these trails around here and enjoying our public lands. I was a public school teacher and a principal. I had the summer off. So I was always here in the North Fork. I couldn't live in the North Fork and work, but I was always here for the whole summer. And then, you know, I would go and work. And when I retired, I could live here full time. I think it's important that the person who represents the district lives in the district. It's a huge district. You know, it goes all the way from the Continental Divide. It goes Essex, West Glacier, Polebridge, half of Whitefish, all the way to Olney in the county. I mean, it's huge. But 93% of the district is public land. So all the people that live here are very connected to our public lands. You know, we live right on the edge of it. And we have a different culture because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 93%. That's crazy. That's cool though.
Half of Glacier National Park and a big chunk of the Flathead Forest.
I know that this isn't your first time running. You've done the race before, falling short of Republican Rep. Braxton Mitchell. So what and that was in 2020. So 4 years later, I guess kind of what inspired you to get back into the race? What was the call that you felt the need to answer, I guess?
Let me start with 2020 because in 2019, I got appointed to fill Zach Perry's spot in the legislature, which is why I ran in 2020. Because to hold on to the seat, I was enjoying being a representative and I wanted to hold on. And I lost it. It was a different district thing. It has changed, redistricting. It changed significantly. And it made it a district that was much more competitive. That was that either a Democrat or a Republican could win the district. So I followed the legislature in 2022, 21 and 23, and watched what happened. And I was just really disappointed and happy with so many things that happened. And I decided I love democracy and I've always wanted to play a part in it, like really, play a part in it. So I thought, you can sit around and complain about this, or you can actually do something. I mean, do something more than vote or call your representative or write letters. You can run. So I had some different organizations ask me to run. And that's why I said, yeah, I can do that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Redemption round. Like you said earlier, the district's really big, but it does incorporate some of that whitefish territory. And housing, of course, is an issue for Montanans across the state, but specifically in whitefish. with workforce housing and affordability, the issues just kind of seem to compound. And that's something that we hear a lot from the residents of that area. So I guess what issues do you see impact that local community the most? And what are some solutions that you would hope to bring to the legislature to specifically alleviate that?
Yeah, I really have been knocking on a lot of doors in Whitefish and talking to people and finding out what's important to them. And, you know, affordability, it's so hard for people who are working regular jobs to even live in Whitefish anymore. And there's so many things that could help with that. One is the property taxes have just gotten way too high. I mean, I'll just name off a few, and if we want to go into detail, I can go into detail. But we need to fix the property tax issue. We need to fix, we need to find more solutions to affordable housing. People, the local community in Whitefish, the local government is really working on some solutions. There are a lot of empty houses in Whitefish because people own second and third and fourth houses here, and they're not here most of the time. Some of those houses become short-time rentals. Some of them stay empty a lot. So it's not that there aren't housing, it's just how the housing is distributed. So Whitefish, the local area is really trying to work on some issues, some solutions. And I think that's what it takes. And the legislature has a part to play too. Some of the, I mean, I could go into detail, but that's one issue. Another issue I think is public education is suffering so much. Our Constitution provides for every child in Montana to get a free and quality public education. And we're falling short. Schools are having to rely on levies and asking voters to pay for levies to do just basic things in their school that should be covered. And people are more and more reluctant to vote for those things because their property taxes are going up. And they go, wait, I'm already paying more. Why? So we need to, all of those are connected. And they all need to be worked on to fix it. And I think it can be fixed. It requires a lot of solutions and people working together. That's what the legislature should do. We should be working together cooperatively. It doesn't matter your political party. We should be focused on solving the problems of the people in our communities. So that's what I want to do as a representative. And I'll work with anybody.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but and as you said, you watched what happened in the 2023 session. And obviously we got some national attention for it. There was a lot going on. There was the property tax thing. It was just a lot. And so I guess where do you think that the legislature could improve going into 2025? What could make it more productive? I guess what would you like to see maybe that we didn't see 2 years ago?
Well, let's quit worrying about these cultural issues and really start looking at the problems that citizens are facing. To start trying to legislate what everybody does and what they look like and how they dress and let's solve the real problems. Let's look at property taxes. Let's look at affordable housing. Let's look at our public schools. Let's look at Medicaid expansion. Let's do the things that will really help people in Montana. The other thing is they spent a lot of time passing bills. They passed a handful of bills that they were told were going to be unconstitutional. We have a great state constitution. It gives us so many freedoms and liberties. And some of these bills eroded those freedoms. And quite frankly, were a waste of time. They passed, then they were taken to court, and then they had to waste taxpayer money fighting in court to take away more of our rights. Let's quit wasting time with that. Let's focus on the real problems.
And then I know that you just kind of touched on it, but I know that Medicaid expansion is important to you. And so if you want to chat a little bit about that, I would just love to hear kind of why you think that. Well, I know from your questionnaire response, but why is Medicaid something that Montanans care about?
Well, healthcare is really, really hard. And if you're a hardworking Montanan who maybe you don't, we've got a lot of billionaires in the state that don't understand what it's like to work for a living and try to make ends meet and sit around, a table with your family and try to figure out how you're going to pay all your bills. We have so many people, in Montana who struggle like this. They're just trying to get by and do what's best for their family. Medicaid expansion helped so many hardworking thousands of hardworking Montanans have affordable health care. It wasn't a giveaway. It wasn't free. It was affordable so that people with a lower income could pay for that, could have health care for themselves and their children. Not only that, and so we have to pass it. 90% of the cost of that comes from the federal government. Why would we turn that away when we can help our people here in Montana? It'll just go to another state if we turn it away. And we need to do this not only for those hardworking Montanans who need affordable health care, but we need it to do it to keep our rural hospitals and clinics afloat, because if they have decreased revenue, they will shut down. And then people in rural areas will have even a harder time even getting to a doctor. So, it's so important, and it should not be an ideological issue. It should be, this money is available. It can help our citizens. Let's take it easy. We're really focused on helping people and making sure that people could afford to live in Montana. It would be an easy solution, an easy answer to that question.
My last kind of planned out question for you before I open it up to you is just, what do you want the community, your voters, House district, like the whole district wide, what do you want when they see your name on the ballot in November? What do you want them to associate that with? What sentiment is your campaign kind of focused on overall? I guess what do you want the people to really, really take away from learning about you?
That's a good question. Well, my little slogan that's on all my signs is Powers for the People. My name's Powers, so that's an easy slogan, but I think it means more than that. It means that people need to have a voice in their own government. This is a democracy. You need to have a voice in your government, and you need to have a government that's looking out for your interests, not the interests of some big corporation or some billionaire, but you hardworking Montanans. That's what I would like for people to think about when they think of my campaign.
And then, sweet, is there anything else that we might have not touched on this morning that you think is integral to your policy passions or the issues you're focusing on as we kind of get into the last couple months of this cycle campaign?
Let's see. You didn't ask me about the judiciary, and that is kind of an issue that, some people, how will I say this? Well, we have 3 branches of government. I taught civics in high school, and sometimes I think our legislators need to go back to their high school civics class. There are 3 branches of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And the judiciary is just as important. It's a co-equal branch of government, and it has a very specific role. It is supposed to make sure, it's supposed to look at the Constitution, for one thing, and make sure that it's supposed to protect us. It's supposed to protect our rights and our freedoms under the Constitution. And if something goes too far that the executive branch or the legislative does, if they do something that goes too far, the judiciary is there to stop it and say no. Now, that's what they should do. They should be an independent judiciary that's not partisan judiciary, that's looking at the law, looking at the Constitution, and backing it up, standing for us, the people. Some people who want their way don't like that the judiciary does that, but the judicial branch is supposed to do that. So I think it's a really important issue that we keep our judicial branch independent and strong.
Yeah, well, I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay, Kate, it was really great talking to you.
You too. I will be in touch, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Bye-bye.